3 days after we moved into our new home, the previous owner called me. I forgot to remove a camera. Enjoy listening my new story. I forgot to remove a camera. It was still connected to my phone and I saw everything. What your husband did while you were gone with your little girl. You need to know. Don't tell him. Come alone now. Honey, you're gonna want to sit down for this one. And I mean really sit down. Not that half-leaning thing you do against the kitchen counter when you're pretending to relax. Pull up a chair. Get comfortable. Because what happened in that house on Pimmon Lane is the kind of story you hear and think that would never be my life. And then one Tuesday morning your phone rings. And it is. My name is Erin Calloway. I was 31 years old. I worked as a dental hygienist at Bright Smiles Pediatric Dentistry in Wentzville, Missouri. And on March 14th of that year, I carried my 4-year-old daughter across the threshold of the house I thought we'd grow old in. Actually, wait, let me back up. I need to tell you how we even found that house because it matters later. Travis and I had been looking for almost 2 years. 2 years of open houses every Saturday. 2 years of my husband scrolling Zillow at the dinner table while our daughter Lily smeared applesauce on her high chair tray. We were renting a 2-bedroom off-Route K that smelled like the previous tenants' cat no matter how many times I scrubbed the baseboards with vinegar. And then in January, our realtor sent us a listing on Pimmon Lane. 4 bedrooms, a porch with a swing, a backyard big enough for Lily to run in without hitting a fence and 3 steps. $287,500. We could barely afford it. We could barely not afford it. The woman selling was named Frida Elner, 58, retired school librarian, recently widowed. She'd raised her kids in that house and couldn't stand the quiet anymore. You could tell she loved the place. She'd left the garden beds perfect, trimmed the hedges into these neat little rectangles. Even left a stack of National Geographic magazines on the living room shelf like she wanted whoever moved in next to have something to read. Nice woman. Quiet. The kind of person you forget about the second the closing papers are signed. I wish I could tell you I had some kind of feeling that day. Some premonition, a chill, a whisper, a bad dream the night before, but I didn't. Moving day was perfect. One of those early spring Missouri mornings where the air smells like wet grass and possibility. Travis carried Lily on his shoulders through the front door, and she screamed with joy so loud the neighbors probably thought we were hosting a circus. He was good that day. I need you to understand that. He joked with the movers, assembled Lily's bed frame without complaining, even hung up the wind chimes I bought at a craft fair in Herman 2 years ago that he always said looked like something a witch would own. He hung them on the porch and said, "There, now the witch is happy." And I laughed and I loved him. Lord, I loved that man standing in my new kitchen with drywall dust on his nose and our daughter hanging off his leg like a baby koala. I was unpacking the living room when I found it. A small white camera about the size of a deck of cards sitting on the bookshelf between the glass vase Frida left behind and those National Geographics. A wise camera, the kind people use to watch their pets or check their front door. She left this, I said, holding it up. Travis glanced over. Just toss it. I didn't toss it. I set it back on the shelf because my hands were full of bubble wrap and I had 14 more boxes to unpack and a 4-year-old who needed dinner. I forgot about it before I even turned around. And of course because life has a sense of humor that borders on cruelty. That's also the day Beverly showed up. Travis's mother, uninvited, rolling up the driveway in her Lincoln at 4:30 in the afternoon with a foil-wrapped pan of stuffed peppers I didn't ask for and opinions I definitely didn't ask for. "You're not putting the glasses there, are you?" First sentence out of her mouth. Not congratulations. Not the house looks beautiful. Glasses cabinet placement. I smiled so hard my back teeth ached. That night, after Beverly finally left and Lily was asleep in her brand new room with her stuffed ladybug, Doy tucked under her arm, Travis and I sat on that porch swing. The street light at the end of Pimmon Lane buzzed above us. The wind chimes clinked. "This is it," he said. "This is our life now." And I believed him. Every word, every syllable. I leaned into his shoulder. I closed my eyes and I thought, we made it. The camera sat on the shelf behind us, blinking a tiny green light into the dark. Before I keep going, if you're new here, take a second and hit that subscribe button and tell me in the comments where you're watching from and what time it is there. I read every single one. Truly. Okay, back to Pimmin Lane. The phone rang 3 days after we moved in. March 17th, 9:47 in the morning. Lily was at preschool, her first day back after the move, and I was scrubbing dried spaghetti sauce off the stove from the night before. The number was a Missouri area code, but not one I recognized. Mrs. Calloway, my name is Frida Elner. I sold you the house on Pimmin Lane. Oh yeah. Hey. Is everything okay with the paperwork? There was a pause. The kind of pause that makes your whole body go still. There's no easy way to say this. I left a camera in the house. A small Wise camera on the bookshelf. It was still connected to my cloud account. I got a motion alert on the night of March 15th and I checked the footage. Mrs. Calloway, I saw your husband with a woman in your living room on your couch. This was the night you took your daughter somewhere. You weren't home. March 15th. One day after we moved in. The night I'd taken Lily to my sister Caitlin's in Jefferson City because the house was still chaos and Lily needed a real bath in a bed that wasn't surrounded by boxes. My knees were doing something strange, not buckling exactly, more like vibrating, like the bones were trying to decide whether to hold me up or let me drop. Frida kept talking. She said she understood how this sounded. She said her own husband had done this to her in 1999 and nobody told her. She said she couldn't just delete the footage and sleep at night. Thanked her. I told her I appreciated the call. And then I hung up and I stood in my kitchen holding a sponge that was dripping dirty water onto the floor, and my brain did something extraordinary. Started explaining. Maybe it was a friend. Maybe a female coworker came over to help him set up furniture and I'd been gone after all. Maybe Frida saw two people sitting on a couch and assumed the worst because of what happened to her. People project. Happens. Travis wouldn't. He wouldn't do that. Not in our house. Not the first week. I put the sponge in the sink. I wiped the counter. I picked Lily up from preschool, made her a snack, and went about my day. And I did not call Frida back. I pushed that call down to a place where I didn't have to look at it, but it was there like a splinter under the skin that you can feel every time you press the spot. And here's what happened next. Almost immediately, like the universe was testing me, Travis started leaving for work before Lily woke up. 6:15, 6:20 in the morning. He said the Q2 push at Ozark Building Supply was brutal. He put his phone face down on the nightstand, screen against the wood every night. Now by itself that's nothing. People flip their phones over all the time. I told myself 6 different explanations and believed all of them. Then I found the receipt hanging up his gray Carhartt jacket, a folded piece of paper dropped from the chest pocket. Hampton in Columbia, Missouri. $612. Dated February 3rd. He was supposed to be at a training seminar in Springfield that week. Springfield is southwest. Collier is straight across the state, 2 hours in the wrong direction. My stomach did a little flip, and then my brain did what it had been doing since Frida's call. It started building excuses. Maybe the company rebooked him. Maybe I was remembering wrong. The receipt went into the junk drawer under the takeout menus and the batteries. This has nothing to do with anything, but my best friend Donna makes the best pimento cheese you've ever put in your mouth. I'm talking the kind that ruins all other pimento cheese for you permanently. She uses smoked paprika and a little bit of pickle juice, and I've been trying to get the exact ratio out of her for 6 years. She won't budge. Anyway, Donna called me that evening and she was crying. Her husband Kyle had been texting his coworker, not business texts. The kind of texts that make you want to throw a phone into a river and then throw the husband in after it. Donna had found them that morning when Kyle left his iPad unlocked on the kitchen counter. Sitting on the floor of Lily's room, half-assembled bookshelf in front of me, Allen wrench in my hand. I listened to Donna fall apart for 40 minutes. I said all the right things. He doesn't deserve you. You're going to get through this. You are stronger than you think. And when I hung up, I remember sitting there in the quiet, surrounded by Lily's picture books and her ladybug stickers and thinking, thank God. Thank God that's not me. Thank God Travis would never. Frida's call sat in the back of my brain like a stone at the bottom of a well. I could feel its weight, but I wouldn't look down. Travis couldn't lie his way out of a parking ticket, or so I thought. Turns out I was married to a man who could have had a second career in theater, and I was still sitting in the audience clapping. Beverly called the next morning. Not to ask how the move was going, not to ask about Lily. You know, she said. Kara's mother from my women's group. She was just telling me what a lovely girl Kara is. She works with Travis. Did you know? Says she's just the sweetest thing. That's nice, I said. I was wrestling a fitted sheet onto the guest bed at the time, and I barely heard the name. She brought Travis lunch last week at the office. Isn't that thoughtful? Why would his coworker bring him lunch? Oh honey, she's just friendly. Some people are just givers. That conversation filed itself away in some drawer in the back of my brain next to the receipt and the FaceOne phone and a call from a retired librarian that I was still pretending didn't happen. That night, Travis snapped at me. I asked when the rest of the furniture was being delivered. We'd ordered a dining table and an accent chair through Restoration Hardware, and he said, "Can you stop asking me about that? I'm handling it, Aaron." Sharp, the kind of tone that stops you mid-sentence. He apologized 10 minutes later. "Sorry, babe. Work is killing me right now." "It's fine," I said. It was not fine, but I didn't know that yet. 2 weeks in that house and I'd already memorized the sound of Travis's truck pulling into the driveway. The Dodge Ram with the Ozark Building Supply logo on the door. It had this particular diesel rattle when he cut the engine, like the truck was sighing after a long day. I used to hear it and feel relieved. He's home. Everything's okay. By the end of March, I was hearing it and feeling something else. Something I couldn't name. Like when you smell gas in the house but can't find the burner that's on. He was late 3 times in 1 week. Tuesday, Thursday, Friday. Each time a different reason. A client dinner ran long. He had to drop off samples in Chesterfield. His boss wanted to talk strategy after hours. Each reason perfectly reasonable. And each time he came home, he went straight to the shower before he even said hello to Lily. His phone lived face down now. Not sometimes. Always. And he'd started taking calls in the garage with the door between us closed. I'd be in the kitchen washing Lily's sippy cups and I'd hear his voice low, soft, a tone I couldn't quite place, muffled through the drywall. When he came back inside, I'd ask who called. Work, always work. Then the Discover card statement came. It arrived in a plain white envelope addressed to Travis Calloway. No indication on the outside of what it was, but I knew what a credit card statement looked like. And I knew I was absolutely certain that we only had 2 credit cards, a Visa and a MasterCard, both joint, both in my online banking app. Standing at the mailbox in my scrubs, still wearing my work lanyard, the afternoon sun hot on the back of my neck. I held that envelope for maybe a full minute. Then I put it back in the stack, carried the mail inside, and set it on the kitchen counter where Travis would see it. I told myself I'd ask him about it later. I didn't. Beverly came over that Saturday. She did not call first. She never called first. She let herself in with a spare key Travis had given her, a key I did not agree to, and by the time I came downstairs, she'd already rearranged Lily's bookshelf by height instead of by the color-coded system Lily and I had spent an entire afternoon creating. She'll never learn to be organized if you let her sort by colors, Aaron. That's not how the real world works. My daughter is 4. She sorts her books by the color of the ladybug stickers she puts on the spines. That's exactly how her real world works. I didn't say that. I scrubbed the kitchen counter until my wrist throbbed and said, "I'll keep that in mind, Beverly." And honestly, she added, "if you had more time at home instead of cleaning other people's teeth all day." She let the sentence trail off. She didn't need to finish it. The message was clear enough. That evening I talked to Donna. She was calmer now, focused, angry in a useful way. Her paralegal brain had kicked in, and she was building a case against Kyle, like she was preparing for trial. "The signs were all there," she said. "He started sleeping with his phone under his pillow, literally under his pillow like a teenager, and he changed his passwords and he got weirdly nice for about 2 weeks right before I found out." I laughed. Travis didn't sleep with his phone under his pillow. He just charged it in the bathroom now with the door closed. "Travis isn't like that," I said. And I meant it completely. He's just stretched thin. New house, new sales territory. You know how he gets. I know, Donna said. I'm just saying. Keep your eyes open. My eyes are open. They were not. Here's something about marriage. You develop this world-class talent for explaining away things that would make a detective quit in frustration. You see the evidence, you hold it in your hands, and then you build a little glass case around it with a label that says perfectly normal. And you set it on a shelf and walk away. Sherlock Holmes would have wept watching me work. And the whole time, Frida's call was sitting in the bottom of my brain like a rock I kept stepping around. Every time something felt off, the receipt, the phone, the late nights, that rock pulsed. I'd feel it for a second, then tell myself she was wrong. She saw two people on a couch and made assumptions. That's all. Lily said something at dinner that Thursday. Travis was still at work or wherever Travis was, and it was just the two of us eating mac and cheese at our brand new kitchen table that still had the plastic on one of the chairs because I hadn't gotten around to peeling it off. Mama, she said. Daddy talks to the lady on the phone with a funny voice. My fork stopped halfway to my mouth. What lady, baby? I don't know. He calls her something nice. Something nice. Like what? Lily shrugged. She was more interested in separating her macaroni by size, which for the record, Beverly, is a perfectly valid organizational system. My stomach dropped about 6 inches. And then I did what I'd been doing for weeks. I told myself, she's 4. She misheard. Maybe he was talking to a client. Maybe it was a customer service call. Maybe he called the cable company sweetheart because that's just something people do in Missouri. And I was reading into the crayon scribbles of a preschooler. Now I know what you're thinking right now. You're yelling at your screen. Erin, open your eyes. But listen to me. When you love someone, you build this fortress of excuses around them brick by brick. And you guard it with everything you've got. Because if the fortress falls, your whole life falls with it. And I wasn't ready for that. Not yet. That night, I lay in bed staring at the ceiling. Travis was asleep. Phone in the bathroom. The house was quiet except for the refrigerator humming downstairs and Lily's sound machine playing ocean waves through her closed door. The thought came again, not about the phone this time, about Frida. About the footage sitting on her cloud account. About a retired librarian in Ophal who had no reason in the world to lie to a stranger. My eyes burned. I rolled over, pulled the comforter up to my chin, and told myself everything was fine. By the last week of March, I'd stopped sleeping through the night. Not in a dramatic way. No nightmares, no cold sweats, just wide awake at 2, sometimes 3 o'clock in the morning. Brain running like a motor somebody forgot to turn off, and I'd get up and do something. Anything. One night, I reorganized the entire pantry, alphabetical. Canned goods on the left, dry goods on the right, spices in a little rack I'd bought at Target 6 months ago, and never installed. I stood there at 2:15 in the morning with a screwdriver and a level, mounting a spice rack on the inside of the pantry door, and I thought, this is fine. I'm just nesting. People organize when they move into new houses. That's normal. It was not normal. Here's the thing about your body. It figures things out way before your brain is willing to. Your stomach knows. Your shoulders know. That weird tension behind your ribs that shows up for no reason and won't leave no matter how many deep breaths you take. That knows. I just wasn't listening. The Discover card statement had been sitting on the counter for 9 days. Travis hadn't mentioned it, hadn't opened it, hadn't moved it. On a Wednesday with Travis at work and Lily at preschool, I was alone in the kitchen with a cup of coffee that had gone cold 40 minutes ago and I just opened it. No big decision, no dramatic moment. I just picked it up and slid my thumb under the flap. The balance was $3,740. Fine. We just bought a house. People spend money when they move. Then I looked at the charges. Restoration hardware, $4,180. That was the furniture order, the dining table, the accent chair, the shelving unit for the den. Travis had handled it. Said he got a deal through a buddy's employee discount. But here's what made me set my coffee down. I walked into the den. 1 sofa. That was it. 1 sofa, 3 throw pillows, and a rug we'd brought from the old apartment. No dining table, no accent chair, no shelving unit. $4,180 at Restoration Hardware, and I was looking at maybe $1,200 worth of furniture. Where was the other $2,980? I almost asked him that night. I practiced the question in the shower, standing underwater so hot my skin turned pink, running the words over and over. Hey, I noticed the restoration hardware charge and I'm just wondering where the rest of the order is. Casual, easy, not accusing, just asking. Like a normal wife asking a normal question about normal furniture. But he came home in a good mood, played with Lily in the backyard for an hour, made spaghetti for dinner without being asked. And I thought, see, this is the man I married. This is who he really is. The other stuff, the phone, the receipts, the credit card, that's just noise. Static. The signal is this. Him in the kitchen stirring marinara sauce while our daughter tells him about ladybugs. The statement went back in the envelope. The envelope went under a stack of old magazines in the guest room closet. The next day, I sat in my car in the Walmart parking lot for 35 minutes after buying groceries, not crying, not thinking about Travis, not thinking about anything at all, just sitting there, engine off, hands in my lap, staring at the shopping carts rolling across the parking lot in the wind. When I finally looked at the clock, it was almost 4. The frozen pizzas had thawed. The ice cream, a pint of butter pecan ID grabbed for no reason. One was soup. I drove home and threw it away and didn't mention it to anyone. Donna called that weekend. She was in full war mode now. Her lawyer had pulled Kyle's bank records and found he'd spent over $8,000 on the other woman in 6 months. The court calls it dissipation of marital assets. Donna said her voice had that flat factual quality it gets when she's in paralegal mode. My attorney said, if I'd started documenting when I first suspected, instead of waiting 3 months, I could have recovered every cent. The judge looks at the timeline when you knew what you did. Whether the money was spent during the marriage for someone outside the marriage, that's terrible, I said. Sorry. Don't be sorry. Be smart. If anything ever, it won't. I know, but if it ever did, document first, react second. That's what my lawyer said. The women who win are the ones who build the file before they throw the punch. That sentence landed somewhere deep, deeper than I expected. It sat right next to Frida's voice on the phone. Beverly called on Sunday. I meant to tell you, Kara brought Travis lunch again at the office on Friday. That girl is an angel. Her mother raised her right. Beverly, why would a coworker bring my husband lunch twice? Oh, Erin, not everything is something. She's just being kind. Something cold moved through my chest. Not a thought, a sensation. Like a draft in a room where all the windows are closed. I didn't argue. I just said, I have to go, Beverly. Lily needs a bath. Travis came home that night and announced he wanted to throw a housewarming party. April 12th, a Saturday. Invite everyone. My family, your family, people from work. Let's show off what we built. Sounds great, I said. And it did sound great. It sounded exactly like something a man with nothing to hide would suggest. So I added that to the fortress too. See, he wants our families here. He wants his co-workers here. A guilty man wouldn't do that. Then, and this is the part where the fortress finally crumbled. His phone buzzed on the kitchen counter while he was in the bathroom. The screen lit up with a text from Kara M. followed by a single red heart emoji. He came out of the bathroom and saw me standing near the counter. His eyes went to the phone, then to me. Work thing, he said, picked it up, put it in his pocket. Heart emoji. From the girl Beverly can't stop talking about, the one who brings my husband lunch. And suddenly every brick in the fortress, the receipts, the phone, the late nights, Lily's funny voice lady fell at the same time. And underneath all of it, at the very bottom, sitting exactly where I'd left it weeks ago, Frida's call. Was I looking for problems? My sister Caitlin always says I overthink things, that I build narratives where there's only noise. But Caitlin didn't get a phone call from a retired librarian who had no reason to lie. Caitlin didn't see a red heart emoji from Kara M. Caitlin wasn't the one lying awake at 3 o'clock in the morning reorganizing the pantry because her body knew something her brain wouldn't accept. The next morning, after Travis left for work, I sat at the kitchen table with my coffee. I picked up my phone and I dialed Frida's number, the one I'd saved in my contacts the day she called, but told myself I'd never use. She picked up on the second ring. Frida, it's Erin Calloway from Pimmon Lane. My voice was steadier than I expected. I need to see that footage. There was a silence on the other end. And then Frida said very quietly, I still have everything. Come whenever you're ready. Now I'm ready now. I drove to her apartment in Ofal in 22 minutes. I don't remember most of the drive. The steering wheel felt slippery. I made a left turn and wasn't sure I'd checked the mirror. I parked in her apartment complex next to a dumpster and sat there for a moment just breathing. Frida's apartment was small, clean, the kind of place a woman moves into after she loses a house. Efficient, organized. Not a single thing on the walls that wasn't useful. She had tea ready. I didn't touch it. She sat me down at her kitchen table and opened her laptop. 3 video clips, 11 minutes total. Time-stamped March 15th, starting at 9:14 p.m. I need a second here. This part still gets to me. Okay, it was Travis on our couch in our new house with a woman younger than me. Dark hair pulled back, wearing a tank top and jeans. They weren't just sitting there. They were comfortable. The kind of comfortable that doesn't happen on a first time. This was familiar, practiced routine. And here's the detail that cracked me open like an egg on a counter. Lily's stuffed ladybug, Doy, was on the coffee table 3 feet from them. My daughter's favorite toy in the world, the one she sleeps with every single night, was sitting right there in the frame while my husband had another woman in our home. The laptop closed under my own hands. Frida didn't have to. She didn't say, I'm sorry. She didn't say, what are you going to do? She just sat there and let me be quiet, which was exactly the right thing to do because I don't think I could have handled a single word of sympathy without dissolving completely. My husband did the same thing, Frida said after a while. 1999. Nobody told me. I didn't find out for 4 years. And by then, he'd spent through our savings, remortgaged the house without my name. And I walked away from a 23-year marriage with a suitcase and an 11-year-old car. I lost everything because nobody picked up the phone. Pause. I picked up the phone for you. What you do with it is your choice. Here's what I didn't do. Scream, cry, call Travis, or drive home and throw his clothes on the lawn. And the reason is Donna. Donna, who documented too late. Donna, who confronted Kyle the same night she found the texts and gave him 12 hours to delete everything, move money, and call a lawyer before she even had a plan. Donna, who told me just days ago, the women who win are the ones who build the file before they throw the punch. Frida copied the footage to a USB drive. A little blue SanDisk, the kind you buy in a 3-pack at Office Depot. I also had her airdrop the files to my phone and I uploaded them to a Google Drive folder right there at her kitchen table. 3 copies, 3 different locations. Nobody was deleting this. Then I sat in the car and called Donna. I need everything your lawyer told you about dissipation of marital assets. How to document it, what the court needs, what the timeline looks like, everything. Oh God, Aaron. Today, Donna. I need it today. Donna didn't ask what happened. She heard my voice and she knew. Come to my office at lunch. I'll have everything printed out. The drive home felt different. Travis was on the front porch with Lily. She was riding her tricycle in circles on the driveway and he was sitting on the swing, scrolling his phone, laughing at something on the screen. He looked up and waved. My hand went up automatically. The smile came from somewhere mechanical. And the woman who smiled at him was not the same woman who'd left that house 3 hours ago. She looked the same. She sounded the same. But something behind her eyes had gone very, very still. I gave myself 14 days. That's what Donna's attorney had told her. The strongest dissipation of assets claims have a documented trail that goes back at least 2 weeks before filing. So I set a clock in my head. April 1st. 14 days to build the file. 14 days of smiling at a man I could barely stand to look at while I quietly took apart the lie he'd built around our life. The Discover card came first. I pulled the statement back out from under those magazines in the guest room. Photographed every page with my phone. The restoration hardware charged $4,180, of which only $1,200 arrived as furniture. The Hampton Inn in Columbia, $612 on a night he said he was in Springfield. 2 more hotel charges I'd missed the first time. A Holiday Inn Express in Ville, 20 minutes from our own house, $189. And a Best Western in St. Peter's, $214. Both on nights. He told me he was doing ride-alongs with new sales reps. Then I went through our joint bank statements. This part took me 3 nights working at the kitchen table after Lily was asleep. And Travis was wherever Travis was. I'd spread the pages out, cross-reference charges with dates on his work calendar that I pulled up from the shared Google account he'd forgotten we still had linked. A sales receipt, $890 for a necklace. I did not receive a necklace. 14 restaurant charges at places I'd never heard of. A steakhouse in Chesterfield, a wine bar in Clayton, a brunch spot in the Central West End totaling $2,840 over 5 months. Every single one on a night he told me he was working late or grabbing food with a client. 8 cash withdrawals from ATMs I didn't recognize. 200 here, 400 there, 650 once, totaling $3,615 over 5 months. When I added it all up on the calculator app, my hands were shaking. $11,340. That's what he'd spent on hotels, jewelry, restaurants, and cash that went God knows where. $11,340 of marital money while I was packing school lunches and scrubbing other people's teeth and alphabetizing the pantry at 2 in the morning because my body knew something my brain refused to accept. Donna sat with me at her kitchen table one evening and showed me how her lawyer liked things organized. Date, vendor, amount, what Travis told me. It was what it actually appeared to be. 2 columns of reality, his version and the truth. And then the setback started. I tried to get into his phone on a Thursday night. He was in the shower. The one place he left it unattended, sitting on the bedroom dresser, screen down as always. My hand reached for it, typed in the passcode. Our anniversary, the one he'd used since we started dating. Incorrect passcode. Lily's birthday. Incorrect passcode. His mother's birthday because of course I knew that. Incorrect passcode. One more attempt before lockout. The phone went back on the dresser, exactly where it was, screen down. My heart was slamming so hard I could feel it in my fingertips. That was my one window, and it was gone. He'd changed the code and didn't tell me. And that told me more than anything on the Discover card that same week. And I mean the very same week because the universe has a timing problem. Travis became the sweetest man on Pimmon Lane. Came home with flowers on a Tuesday. Not gas station flowers. Actual flowers from a florist in tissue paper with a card that said just because. He offered to cook dinner. He suggested date night. He sat on the floor and played Candyland with Lily for 45 minutes without checking his phone once. I know I've been distracted, babe. He said. Work's been insane, but I'm here. I'm right here. My blood turned to ice water. Not because of the words, because of the pattern. Donna's voice echoed in my head. Carl bought me a Pandora bracelet 2 days before I found the texts. Guilty men get nice. It's textbook. Did he know? Had he seen me looking at the statements? Had Beverly said something? I almost broke that night. Almost grabbed the USB drive from the zippered pocket of my gym bag where I'd hidden it and slammed it on the kitchen table and said, "Explain this." Donna talked me down, hands shaking, voice barely above a whisper because Travis was downstairs watching SportsCenter. He doesn't know, she said, calm. Sure, he's guilt cycling. They do this. 3 weeks of neglect, then 1 week of husband of the year. It's not about you. It's about him managing his own conscience. Stay the course, Aaron. You're almost there. The closest call came on a Saturday. Bank statement spread across the kitchen table, adding 2 more charges to the spreadsheet when the front door opened. Travis was supposed to be at a job site until 3. It was 1:15. The papers went off the table and into Lily's art supply bin, the big plastic one under the counter with the crayons and the construction paper and the glue sticks. My hands moved faster than my brain. By the time Travis walked into the kitchen, I was standing at the counter holding a purple crayon and a piece of cardboard. What are you doing? Lily's collage project for preschool. He looked at me. I looked at him. Something passed between us that I can't describe. Like 2 people who both know the other person might be lying, but neither one wants to pull the thread. Cool, he said, grabbed a Gatorade from the fridge, and went to the garage. My hands shook for an hour. The housewarming party happened on April 12th. 41 people in our new house, both families, friends, neighbors, Travis's co-workers. I wasn't planning a spectacle. I wasn't going to stand up and make a speech. That's not what this party was for. This party was for watching. And what I saw, Beverly and Kara Messenger standing in my kitchen laughing. Not the polite laugh of two strangers making small talk. The easy, familiar laugh of two people who've spent real time together. Beverly touched Kara's arm. Casual, warm, the way you touch someone you know well. Kara leaned in and said something quiet that made Beverly tilt her head back and laugh even harder. I stood in the hallway holding a stack of paper plates and watched them for maybe 90 seconds. And in those 90 seconds, I understood something that hit me harder than the camera footage. Beverly knew. His own mother knew about Kara and she liked her, maybe preferred her. All those comments about Kara being sweet and an angel and raised right, those weren't small talk. Those were auditions. Beverly was rooting for the understudy. Monday morning, Lily at preschool. Travis at work. I drove to St. Charles and sat down in the office of Rita Garza, a family law attorney at the firm where Donna worked as a paralegal. Donna had made the appointment for me. Donna had also, without my asking, prepared a one-page summary of my situation. Dates, amounts, evidence types, because that's who Donna is, and I will owe that woman for the rest of my life. Everything went on Rita's desk. The USB drive with the camera footage, the photograph Discover card statements, the bank records, the spreadsheet showing $11,340 in dissipated marital assets, the sales receipt, the hotel dates cross-referenced with Travis's claimed locations, the restaurant charges mapped against his working late nights. Rita looked through it for about 10 minutes. Then she took off her glasses and said, "This is the cleanest file a first-time client has ever brought me. I filed for divorce that afternoon." Rita asked me one question I hadn't expected. "Where do you want him served?" 3 seconds of thought. His office. Not because I wanted a scene. Because Ozark Building Supply was a company of 62 people. And in a building that size, everyone sees the process server walk in. Everyone knows. Travis wouldn't be able to control the story. He wouldn't be able to spin it, soften it, or explain it away over dinner with his version first. The facts would arrive before his narrative did. And here's what the filing contained. The part that mattered beyond my marriage, every hotel charge, every restaurant receipt, every cash withdrawal, and the $890 Ailes necklace were listed in the dissipation claim with dates and amounts. Kara Messenger wasn't named directly, but the pattern was clear to anyone who could read a calendar. A logistics coordinator at the same company. Hotel rooms in the same towns as Travis's work trips. A necklace purchased 2 weeks after their 7-month mark. In a company of 62 people, a court filing like that doesn't stay in the courthouse. It travels through cubicles and break rooms and parking lot conversations. Not because anyone is cruel, because people talk. And when the regional account manager gets served with divorce papers that detail $11,000 spent on someone who works 20 feet from his desk, the math does itself. Travis called me 17 times that afternoon. I didn't pick up once. He drove home at 4:30. The locks were changed. Caitlin was sitting on the porch swing with a glass of sweet tea and an expression that could have frozen Lake Erie. "Your stuff is in boxes in the garage," Caitlin said. "Your daughter is at my house and your wife doesn't want to see you." Travis stood in the driveway for a long time. Then he got in the Dodge Ram and drove to his mother's house. And the first thing he said to Beverly, "I know this because Caitlin's husband's cousin works at the same church as Beverly's women's group, and small towns are like that." The first thing he said was, "This is your fault. You knew about Kara. You pushed me toward her. You told me Aaron wasn't enough." Beverly called me 2 days later. I let it ring 4 times, then picked up. "Aaron, I need to explain." "There's nothing to explain, Beverly. If you just let me, I have nothing to say to you." The phone went back on the counter and that door closed quietly without a slam, without a speech. Just closed. The divorce was finalized 4 months later. Rita Garza earned every cent of her fee, which for the record was $4,200 and worth 10 times that. The judge reviewed the dissipation claim, looked at the spreadsheet, looked at the hotel receipts, looked at the sales charge for a necklace that never arrived at my house, and awarded me the full $11,340 on top of the standard equitable division. Kept the house. Both our names were on the mortgage, but Travis's hidden debt, the Discover card balance, and the documented pattern of spending marital funds on an affair made the math simple. Beverly's $15,000 contribution was on file as a gift in the closing paperwork. Not a loan, not an investment, not a bargaining chip, a gift. She couldn't claw it back, and Travis couldn't use it as a card to play. Donna had flagged that document 3 weeks before the filing just to be safe. Carrera Messenger resigned from Ozark Building Supply in May. Nobody asked her to, at least not officially, but in a building with 62 employees and a court filing that connected the dots between her and a married regional account manager, the hallways got uncomfortable fast. I heard she moved to Kansas City. I don't know what she does there. I don't particularly care. I called Frida Elner the day after the divorce was final. Sat on the porch swing with a glass of iced tea and called the woman who picked up the phone when nobody else would have. "Thank you," I said. "I don't know if you understand what you did for me." "Oh, I understand exactly what I did," Frida said. "That camera was supposed to watch my cats while I was on vacation. Isn't that something? $29 camera from Amazon. And it did more than my divorce lawyer managed in 2 years. We meet for coffee once a month now. First Thursday she orders the same thing every time. A medium decaf with too much cream and one of those lemon poppy seed muffins that are always a little dry. She tells me about her garden. I tell her about Lily's latest ladybug obsession. We don't talk about Travis much. There's not much left to say. And here's the part one want to leave you with because it's the part that matters. That first night alone in the house, truly alone, Lily sleeping over at Caitlin's, I walked out onto the porch. The swing was still there. Same swing I fell in love with at the first open house. Same chains, same creak when you lean back too far. The street light at the end of Pimmon Lane was buzzing the way they do when it's warm enough for the moths to come out. Somewhere down the block, somebody was grilling and the smoke drifted over the roof lines like a lazy gray ribbon. A cup of chamomile tea was already going cold in my hands. I didn't reheat it, didn't check my phone, didn't plan tomorrow or replay yesterday or do any of the things my brain had been doing at 2 o'clock in the morning for months. I just sat there and swung and listened to the crickets. And for the first time since we moved into that house on Pimmon Lane, the knot behind my ribs was gone. Thank you so much for staying with me through this one. I mean that from the bottom of my heart. If this story sat with you the way it sat with me telling it, there's another one already on your screen. Click it.